Millions of dead fish washed up in a Redondo Beach harbor and triggered a huge cleanup effort. Julissa Reyes is in the newsroom with more on the story. Julissa?
That's right, Joe. USC biologists are now saying the fish also tested positive for a dangerous neurotoxin. They believe it was domoic acid that caused the fish to chaotically swim into the harbor in the first place, where they then ran out of oxygen. This is what remains of the millions of dead fish that washed up to the Redondo Beach shore on Tuesday morning. Many more of the dead sardines, mackerels, and Spanish mackerels have yet to surface from the sea floor. Volunteers, city workers, and aquarium personnel worked hard filling nets and barrels with the fish that city workers say will be used for fertilizer. The mess seems to be never-ending for cleanup crews here, and the smell of the decaying fish is only getting worse. There has been a good turnout of volunteers, but more are still needed. King Harbor resident Octavio Carranza says the problem is not having enough cleanup equipment for them to help, like nets.
In a city of 12 million people, it's hard to believe that they don't have 50 extra nets, or that someone cannot get organized enough to get 100, 200 nets to clean up a mess before it becomes worse. You know, because these fish will eventually become more and more toxic, and with the possibility of a bioluminescent bloom is possible, and then more fish could die. So it needs to be taken care of quickly.
The unforeseen mass death of these fish is something cleanup crews are learning to deal with as they go, says one volunteer.
They were going around with dinghies today with, I don't know, lines to corral all the fish and bring them to the people who have got nets, you know, and bring them over to the trucks. So it's a lot easier today than it was yesterday or the day before.
A vacuum was also brought in to help the cleanup. Sea Lab Program Director Brent Shiwi explains the suspected cause of the incident.
We were surprised at the number of dead fish that were down here, although there was still some fish alive and swimming in the harbour. It looked like the fish were kind of in distress and kind of looking, for oxygen. So we confirmed that with some readings. We took some DO readings, dissolved oxygen readings, and those levels were critically low.
Despite all the decay, some life still remains. Worried residents of King Harbor must be relieved now that the water has been cleared, but another cleanup was needed on Highway 215 near Colton. The fish spilled out of a truck and onto the highway while they were being transported to the plant where they'd be made into fertilizer. Now, back to you in the studio.
The Environmental Protection Agency may add an abandoned mine in New Ydra, California to the list of the nation's most polluted places. For decades, the mine has polluted a creek with orange waste, which then flows into San Francisco Bay. Records show that the amount of mercury in the creek exceeds federal standards, but the area was not added to the national priorities list. Sites added to the list qualify for millions of dollars in federal cleanup funding. The byproducts of the mercury in the creek have tainted fish. Consumption of these fish can lead to headaches, tremors, and damage to the brain and nervous system. A final decision on adding the old mine site to the national priority list will be made after further review and public comment.
Investigators are looking into a bus crash that killed 14 people in New York. Investigators are looking into recording devices on the bus to determine how fast the driver was traveling. 6 people remain in critical condition. Passengers were on their way back from a casino in Connecticut. Investigators are looking at the bus company, Worldwide Tours of Brooklyn, because it has had 2 accidents in the past 2 years.
A helicopter pilot is recovering after crashing into the patio of an El Segundo office complex. The aircraft set fire to the building's first and second floors. El Segundo fire officials were able to extinguish the fire within 40 minutes, and they say no one on the ground was injured. The pilot was pulled out of the cockpit before the aircraft burst into flames. He was then taken to a hospital for broken bones and cuts. The cause of the crash is under investigation. The helicopter had been lifting a load from a roof of a building when the crash happened.
A group of students and faculty at Cal State Northridge are attempting to help make the night a time for people to enjoy instead of fear. Valley View's Cody Colgrove has the story.
Take Back the Night is a protest event put on by the CSUN Women's Research and Resource Center in an effort to end violence against women, men, and children.
Nighttime where you feel a little bit more in danger.
Karen Medina is the student director for the Women's Research and Resource Center.
We're going to take back the night. We're going to reclaim it as ours and empower ourselves to actually walk out there and not be afraid.
Participants begin the evening by gathering into groups to socialize and create picket signs with slogans against physical and mental abuse.
I looked up and he slapped me. My husband.
Carly Johnson is an actress who came up to perform a monologue in which she plays an Indian woman who is faced with abuse daily.
I couldn't believe it. He was smiling. This wasn't a blast that knocks your eyes blue. No, that came later.
Johnson is also the vice president of the LGBTA and feels that it is crucial for those who have been abused to speak up about their experiences.
I know several people who have been victims of sexual assault, of rape. When they come out and do it, they feel like they are stopping the silence. They're ending this silence, and they don't let it take over them.
There was a live band along with several speakers, including campus police representatives, who encouraged students to utilize their services. The event was also host to the Clothesline Project, in which T-shirts with anti-violence slogans were hung on clotheslines around the USU. Missy Dominguez is a representative of the queer-based sorority and host of the project, Gamma Rho Lambda, and feels that men are a central core to this anti-violence movement.
Without the support of men, we're not going to be able to get this issue resolved. Although most of the violence is probably self-inflicted from men, there are men who are also abused as well. But ultimately, we need to come together as a community, men, women, and other individuals to do this.
After all the performances and speakers have finished, the students gather their signs and light candles for a moment of silence. Once the silence has been broken, students begin their peaceful protest march through the campus with their signs and candles in hand. The Take Back the Night event is put on by the Women's Research and Resource Center and brings to light the unspoken issue of violence against men, women, and children. Reporting from Northridge, I'm Cody Colgrove, Valley View News.
Lakers superstar Kobe Bryant suffers an injury that could keep him on the sidelines. Corey Cox has this story and more in her sports segment.
Pro soccer in Japan has been suspended at least for the rest of the month while the country deals with the devastation from the earthquake and tsunami. The team's stadium and facilities were ruined and the players have disbanded. The president of the Japanese league says the 41 games scheduled to take place in Japan have been postponed. No date has been set for a return. The NFL Players Association continues to meet with the commissioners, but the two sides still can't agree on how to split the league's profits. The two sides are still in mediation on how to disperse $9 billion in profits. 10 players, including Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady, filed antitrust lawsuits to prevent a lockout. Executive Director of the NFLPA, DeMaurice Smith, says he stands behind the players.
Perhaps the way people feel about football today is a little bit less than what they felt about football the day before. But I'm proud of the men.
The chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee says he hopes good faith negotiations will prevent what he calls collateral damage on innocent Americans whose jobs depend on professional football. There was no post-game shooting for Kobe Bryant after he sprained his ankle in the Lakers' win against the Dallas Mavericks. All eyes were on Bryant when he landed off balance after having his shot blocked by Shawn Marion late in the third quarter. He limped to the locker room but made a short appearance midway through the fourth quarter. Bryant said this is the scariest sprained ankle he has ever had. The Lakers' big men continued to dominate after Bryant left the game and led the Lakers to a 96-91 victory against the Mavs. Lakers coach Phil Jackson plans on working for his longtime rival Mark Cuban when Jackson leaves the Lakers. Cuban owns the Dallas Mavericks. Jackson is trying to be friends with Cuban because Jackson and Charlie Sheen want to be on a show together. Jackson hopes to introduce movies on Cuban's network HDNet. That's it for sports. Back to you, Joe.
At 103 years old, he is the oldest cyclist in Long Beach. The city wants Octavio Orduño ambassador for biking. Orduño was beginning to lose his balance, so his wife insisted he add another wheel to his bike, making it a tricycle. Orduño's been pedaling to the park, the beach, and to the farmer's market for 40 years. The city's coordinator, Charles Gandy, wants to have Orduño cut the ribbon at a bike-friendly ceremony and appear in television and radio ads.
Los Angeles food trucks are a growing trend, and in Santa Monica specifically, recent popularity among a younger crowd has promoted these trucks and turned them into an icon of urban culture. Corey Cox has the story.
Food trucks aren't just roach coaches anymore. They're now trendier.
So trendy that Santa Monica's Main Street holds a food truck festival every Tuesday night.
It's kind of a fun thing to do, hang out with your friends, get together, all that good stuff, and eat some good food. Some of the food's really exotic.
The exotic food she's talking about ranges from island barbecue to Lebanese. Lower menu prices than those of nearby restaurants is one way the trucks attract larger crowds.
You go out to a restaurant, you're not going to be paying just $7. You're going to be paying at least $10 for a sandwich, then you got to tack on tip and all that other stuff. This is cool, and it's like outside and, you know, some Santa Monica, nice time.
These trucks are so popular that many menu items sell out fast. But it's not all about the prices. The owner of the Hungry Nomad says that trucks like hers are easier for those who don't have time to dine.
Well, it's good food, gourmet food, and just quick on the go. If you don't have the time to spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours at a restaurant, this is a good way to do it.
This is why food trucks in LA are becoming more popular among the working crowd.
People that don't go out to lunch at work because the trucks come to them. And so it's kind of an advantage when you know you can come directly to the people.
This truck on Lincoln Boulevard sells inexpensive Mexican food that is convenient for local workers. And at the Fox building off Santa Monica Boulevard, there is a truck parked out front daily for employees. The Corner Grill, located next to the Fox building, is a lunch hotspot. The manager of the restaurant says his grill is minimally affected by the food trucks.
Just a little bit. To be honest, probably 5–10%. We have our setup customers.
People coming out here are specifically coming for this. They like the whole food truck thing and just being out on the street. People going to restaurants are going to restaurants.
Don't know where to find a food truck? Check online. Websites like trucksmaps.com uses your zip code to search for trucks in your area. Or many trucks have their own Facebook pages you can follow. These food trucks are all the rage today in LA and are on the rise. In Santa Monica, I'm Corey Cox for Valley View News.
Here's the scoop.
Despite his troubles, Charlie Sheen is already working in a new project, and celebrities are uniting to help the needy in Japan. Brittany Johnson has these stories and more in her entertainment segment.
Lady Gaga is joining the efforts to raise money for earthquake and tsunami victims in Japan. The pop star designed a red and white wristband with the words "We Pray for Japan" written in English and Japanese. It also has an image of the singer's monster paw gesture. She chose the colors red and white to symbolize the flag of Japan. On her website, Gaga says all proceeds go directly to Japan relief efforts. The bracelets cost $5 and can be purchased only on Lady Gaga's website. Mel Gibson entered a no-contest plea on his 1 misdemeanor counts of battery against ex-girlfriend Oksana Grigorieva. Gibson will be on informal probation and will serve no jail time. The 1-year sentence for battery has been suspended. The Oscar winner was also ordered to continue mental health counseling and a domestic violence course. He must perform community service and pay some small fines. Grigorieva was accused of trying to extort money from Gibson, but prosecutors said they will not charge her. People just can't get enough of Charlie Sheen, at least in Detroit and Chicago. Tickets sold out for his pair of live performances next month. Sheen tweeted, "Fastball, Detroit and Chicago sold out in minutes thanks to Sheen's cadre." The show Charlie Sheen Live, My Violent Torpedo of Truth, and more than 2,000 tickets have been sold. Sheen announced on his website that he is going to donate some of the proceeds from the show to the recovery in Japan. The White House grooved to the sound of Motown and paid tribute to founder Berry Gordy. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama hosted the tribute as part of its In Performance at the White House series. Clapping, swaying, and singing in the audience were Gordy, Motown superstar Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson, and Vice President Joe Biden and his wife Jill, to name a few. Actor, singer, and comedian Jamie Foxx added an unpredictable element as master of ceremonies. He challenged Obama to dance, poked fun at Biden, and performed his own versions of some famous Motown hits. Producers have reset the opening for the Broadway Spider-Man musical for the 6th time. The production has been plagued with cast injuries, set breakdowns, and an escalating budget. June 16th is the new opening date for the musical called Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Ticket holders for the canceled performances will be offered in exchange for returning tickets. It was a special effects-led weekend at the box office. The action-packed Battle Los Angeles premiered over the weekend and topped the box office with $36 million. The animated Western Rango fell to second place with $23 million. Twilight director Catherine Hardwicke's new film Red Riding Hood took third place with $14 million. Disney's 3D animated feature Mars Needs Moms was a flop with only $6.8 million. That's it for entertainment. Back to you, Courtney.
Thank you for watching Valley View News. I'm Courtney Price.
And I'm Joe Galley. We'll see you next week.